Welcome back to Management Made Easy. In today's lecture, I want to talk to you about breaking the deadlock. So, what exactly is the deadlock? What do we mean by a deadlock? A deadlock refers to the state of interactions and relationships among various resources around you. There is an important management concept here called resources. What are resources? People are resources, objects are resources, even reputation is a resource. It's an intangible resource. In short, everything around you is a resource, and these resources are all related to you. Whenever a person wants to accomplish something, they will set a goal. Once there is a goal, there is direction. When you start moving in that direction, you will realize that you're in a deadlock. Why? Because all the resources surrounding you have a relationship with you. Some of these resources support you and can be controlled. I call them positive resources. Others hinder you. They can't be utilized. I call them negative resources. The reason people get stuck in a deadlock is that there are too many negative resources blocking their way, and they can't break through to reach their goals. Therefore, the solution is to remove the negative resources and break through, which is what we call breaking the deadlock. On the other hand, intentionally creating negative resources for others, making it hard for them to move forward, or forcing them to go around in circles, is what we call setting the deadlock. To summarize, breaking the deadlock essentially means adjusting the nature of resources, turning positives into negatives, and negatives into positives, and shifting the relationship between you and those resources so that you can move forward. 3 approaches to breaking the deadlock. First approach is to look for resources that were previously outside your radar, which I call irrelevant resources. By integrating these irrelevant resources with positive and negative resources, you can transform negative resources and find a path forward. A few days ago, I was chatting with CEO Tian. Don't you be fooled by her success now. She's been through countless struggles to get here. 20 years ago, Tian didn't have a university degree and was working at an advertising company with the simple task of bringing in clients. Her deadlock was very straightforward: how to bring in advertising clients. Without clients, she couldn't break through. With clients, the deadlock was broken. This is the simplest deadlock in business. Who set this deadlock? Her boss. The boss sets the tasks and goals, essentially creating the deadlock. I joked with Tian that all bosses are people who set deadlocks. When employees break their own deadlocks, they also break the boss's deadlock. So bosses must create good deadlocks for their employees. In management theory, this is called goal management and incentive system design. Tian worked in the advertising industry, and the key resource she needed to break her deadlock was connections. Why connections? Because people trust you, and that's when they'll give you advertising business. But clients who don't know you or trust you are essentially negative resources. At best, they might become potential positive resources. Most advertising professionals will try to turn these negative resources into positive ones one by one, which might be what you're doing right now too. What makes Tian's story interesting is that she knew how to use irrelevant resources to transform negative resources. So what irrelevant resources did Tian discover? One day, Tian was passing through a hotel corridor and overheard a lecture on strategic management being taught in a conference room. 20 years ago, strategic management was a very new course. Tian stopped by, listened for a few minutes, liked what she heard, and taking advantage of the loose management, slipped into the back row. Most people would leave after the lecture, but Tian didn't. She thought, maybe the business owners and advertising clients would be interested in what I've heard. So she approached the teacher and asked where else she could attend such classes. The teacher told her, "This is an internal training for foreign companies. We don't offer external lectures." That made Tian even more interested, because internal training at foreign companies wasn't accessible to the public. So she negotiated with the teacher to bring the class to her advertising company. Back at her company, Tian found a bunch of business cards from high-level executives of big companies. To be honest, these cards might count as resources, but they were practically useless because when you called, they wouldn't even entertain the idea of working with an advertising company. So most of them were negative resources. What she needed was a new way to create a relationship channel with these negative resources, at least to get their attention. You can probably guess by now, Tian used a seemingly unrelated approach to convert those resources. That irrelevant resource she introduced was the strategic management course offered by the teacher, which was specifically for foreign companies' internal training. Tian made one call after another, not asking them to advertise, but inviting them to attend the class. Over 20 entrepreneurs showed up, forming an internal training session for the advertising company. The teacher's lecture was excellent, and the entrepreneurs were very happy. Tian organized the training meticulously, and everyone was satisfied. As a result, the entrepreneurs trusted Tian, and those negative resources suddenly turned into positive ones. With that, the advertising business followed, and Tian broke the deadlock. This story demonstrates the first approach to breaking the deadlock. The second approach is to redefine the resources and find a new way out. 7-Eleven is a famous chain convenience store in Japan. Around the year 2000, when it was seeking new business opportunities, it used this approach of redefining resources. 7-Eleven has several key characteristics. First, it operates 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Second, it locates stores based on population density, which maximizes customer access. Third, it has decades of experience in inventory, logistics, and information management. After considering all these factors, 7-Eleven realized it needed to introduce a new product, cash. They decided to enter the ATM industry and redefine all their advantages and resources, finding a new direction. Now, every 7-Eleven store in Japan has at least one ATM, and the service is exceptional. Each machine rarely breaks down, once a year at most. No other bank can match it. Later, 7-Eleven even established a subsidiary, 7 Bank, which successfully went public in 2008. When 7 Bank was first established, no one believed it would be profitable. But because 7-Eleven applied its retail experience to this new venture, it now stands unrivaled. Let me give you the numbers to show you the power of breaking the deadlock. This new business has an impressive profit margin of 30%, while even the most famous department stores in Tokyo can only achieve a maximum profit margin of 4%. The third approach to breaking the deadlock is to redefine yourself and dare to break yourself apart. Many negative resources can't actually be moved, but they have gaps. So to break through, you have to be willing to break yourself into pieces. By transforming into smaller, more manageable parts, you can use small forces to slip through the gaps in the negative resources. Once outside, you can reassemble yourself into a new whole. This is also a way to break the deadlock. For example, my current management courses on the DITA platform are completely different from my past teaching in schools. What I am doing now is finding new solutions for fragmented learning in the age of the internet. Today, we talked about 2 main things. First, the concept of deadlock, which is the interaction between people and the resources around them. Second, breaking the deadlock means redefining and reintegrating these resources. This is Management Made Easy. See you in the next class.